First contact deception. The endless void of space stretched before Captain Alina Reyes as she stood on the command deck of the ISS Tempest. Earth's most advanced warship looked unassuming from the outside, intentionally so. Its hull was scared in places, its external weapon systems modest, and its size unremarkable compared to the massive vessels of other spacefaring species. This was precisely as Earth Defense Command wanted it. "Captain, we've detected multiple vessels entering the system," announced Lieutenant Commander Darrell Wong from the sensor station. "Configuration unknown. They're approaching from the Ta City corridor." Captain Rice nodded, her dark eyes narrowing slightly. Tactical display. The holographic projection in the center of the bridge flared to life, revealing 5 sleek vessels with distinctive angular designs that reminded Reyes of ancient Terran manta rays. Their hulls gleamed with an iridescent material that seemed to shift colors as they moved. "Unknown configuration indeed," she murmured. "Communications, are they broadcasting?" "No, Captain," replied Communications Officer Zara Okafor. "Wait, receiving transmission now." The main view screen flickered, and the image of a humanoid figure appeared. Its skin was pale lavender with a metallic sheen, eyes vertical slits of amber, and instead of hair, delicate crystalline structures adorned its elongated skull. "Attention, primitive vessel." The alien spoke in flawless English, clearly having analyzed human communications. "You are in the presence of the Vorax Dominion's 7th Expansion Fleet. I am Commander Vexnar. Your singular craft has been detected in a sector we now claim. Identify yourselves and prepare for inspection." Captain Rice straightened her uniform and offered a respectful nod. "Commander Vexnar, I am Captain Alina Reyes of the interstellar ship Tempest, representing Earth and the Sol System Alliance. We are on a routine patrol mission. We were unaware this sector had been claimed by any civilization." The Vorax commander's vertical pupils narrowed. "Your ignorance is noted but irrelevant. Our scans indicate your vessel is rudimentary. Your species appears to have only recently achieved interstellar capabilities. The Dominion is generous to developing races. Submit to our guidance, and your transition into our protectorate will be painless." Several officers on the bridge exchanged glances, but Reyes maintained her composed expression. This wasn't Earth's first encounter with expansionist species, though it was their first meeting with the Vorax. "Commander, while we appreciate your offer, Earth maintains its sovereignty and is not seeking protectorate status. Perhaps we could discuss peaceful diplomatic relations instead." Vexnar made a dismissive gesture. "Your technological inferiority leaves you little choice in the matter. Our preliminary scans indicate your vessel's capabilities are at least 3 centuries behind Dominion standards. We detect primitive fusion drives, rudimentary shield technology, and weapon systems that would barely register against our defensive barriers." "I see," Reyes replied evenly. "And your scans are absolutely certain of this assessment." Something in her tone caused the Vorax commander to pause briefly. "Our sensor technology is beyond your comprehension, human. We have cataloged thousands of species across 12 star clusters. We can determine a civilization's technological development with 99.7% accuracy from a single vessel examination." Captain Rice allowed a small smile. "Impressive. However, I should inform you that there's been a misunderstanding. The Sol System Alliance has a policy of technological discretion when exploring new regions of space. The Tempest is operating under Protocol 7. Protocol 7. The commander's crystalline cranial structures seemed to shimmer with irritation. "Yes, we maintain the appearance of lesser technological capability until peaceful intentions are confirmed." Reyes nodded to her tactical officer. "Lieutenant Commander Katri, please disengage the external dampers and bring our actual systems online." "With pleasure, Captain," the tactical officer responded, his fingers dancing across the control interface. The bridge lighting shifted subtly as the ship's true systems engaged. Outside, the seemingly weathered hull began to transform. The scared sections smoothed over as nanomaterial reconfigured itself. hidden weapon ports previously disguised as maintenance hatches rotated open. The entire vessel seemed to pulse briefly with blue-white energy as its actual shield grid activated. On the view screen, Commander Vexnar's expression shifted from condescension to confusion. What deception is this? Our initial scans were exactly what we wanted you to see. Rise finished for him. The Tempest is equipped with sensor countermeasures specifically designed to project an appearance of technological inferiority. It's a precaution we found useful when encountering new civilizations. The bridge of the Vorax command ship erupted into activity behind the commander. One of his officers approached, speaking urgently into his ear. Vexnar's amber eyes widened. Our updated scans indicate this is impossible. Your power signature has increased by a factor of 20. We're detecting quantum entanglement systems, gravitational manipulation technology, and energy weapons of, he seemed genuinely disturbed, unknown configuration. Not impossible, Commander. Just carefully concealed. Rais kept her tone professional but firm. Humanity has learned to be cautious. Our history taught us that appearing too powerful invites challenge, while appearing too weak invites conquest. We prefer to reveal our true capabilities only when necessary. The Vorax commander recovered his composure quickly. An interesting stratagem, Captain Reyes. However, you remain outnumbered 5-1. The Dominion still requires your submission. Captain Reyes sighed. I had hoped this demonstration would convince you to pursue diplomatic options instead. Let me be clearer. The Tempest is not Earth's most advanced vessel. It is one of our older patrol ships, and it is not alone. At her signal, Lieutenant Commander Wong activated the quantum communication array. Within moments, spatial distortions appeared at strategic points around the Vorax formation. 3 additional human vessels shimmered into existence, materializing through what appeared to be localized folds in spacetime itself. Allow me to introduce the ISS Horizon, Defiant, and Peregrine, Reyes said calmly. They'd been monitoring our conversation from phase-shifted space. The new vessels were sleeker than the Tempest, their designs more angular and predatory. They took up flanking positions, effectively surrounding the Vorax fleet. Phase shifted. Vexnar appeared momentarily speechless. Your species has mastered dimensional displacement. Among other things, Rice confirmed. Now, Commander, I propose we start our conversation again. The Sol System Alliance would welcome peaceful relations with the Vorax Dominion, provided our sovereignty is respected. The commander's crystalline structures darkened with what might have been anger, but before he could respond, an alarm sounded on his bridge. One of his officers called out something in their native language, and Vexnar's attention snapped away from the view screen. When he turned back, his expression had hardened. It appears you've concealed more than your technological capabilities, Captain. Our long-range sensors have detected a significant human fleet mobilizing at the edge of this system. This deception will not be tolerated. Rice frowned. We have no additional fleet in this. Prepare for the consequences of your duplicity. Vexnar interrupted, terminating the communication. Captain, the Vorax vessels are powering weapons, reported Lieutenant Commander Catry. They're targeting all 4 of our ships simultaneously. Reyes's expression grew grim. So much for diplomacy. Combat stations, everyone. Alert the other vessels to execute Maneuver Theta. Let's show the Vorax what happens when someone challenges a human warship. The bridge erupted into coordinated activity as klaxons sounded throughout the Tempest. The first salvo from the Vorax fleet, brilliant beams of purple energy, sliced through the vacuum toward the human vessels. But where they expected to find targets, they found only empty space. The human warships had vanished, leaving behind only dissipating energy signatures. Micro-jump complete, announced the navigation officer. All vessels repositioned. The human ships had performed a near-instantaneous short-range spatial jump, reappearing behind the Vorax formation in perfect attack position. All ships concentrated fire on their rearmost vessel, ordered Reyes. Quantum disruptors only. Let's avoid fatalities if possible. Blue-white energy lanced out from the 4 human warships, converging on the smallest Vorax vessel. Its shields flared brilliantly for a moment before collapsing entirely. The ship didn't explode as expected. Instead, it simply went dark, drifting lifelessly as all its systems simultaneously failed. "Direct hit. Target vessel neutralized," reported Captri. "No life signs damage, but all their systems are offline." The remaining Vorax ships scrambled to reorient themselves, clearly caught off guard by both the human vessel's maneuverability and the nature of their weapons. "Open a channel," Rice commanded. When Vexnar's face appeared again, his composure had vanished. "What have you done to the Celestial Fang?" "Your vessel is undamaged structurally, and your crew is unharmed," Rice explained. "We deployed quantum disruption fields that temporarily disabled its systems. Power and life support will return in approximately 1 hour. This technology," the commander seemed genuinely shaken, "is just one of many we've developed," Rice finished for him. "Now shall we discuss those diplomatic relations, or would you prefer another demonstration?" The Vorax commander's gaze hardened. "This encounter is not concluded, Captain Rice. The Dominion does not forget such provocations." The transmission cut off abruptly, and the remaining Vorax vessels maneuvered into a defensive formation, slowly backing away. "They're retreating, Captain," Wong confirmed. Rice nodded, her expression serious. "For now. But I suspect Commander Vexnar will be back, and with considerably more firepower." She turned to her communications officer. "Contact Earth Defense Command immediately. We need to prepare for what comes next." As the Vorax ships disappeared into FTL, leaving their disabled comrade behind, Captain Rice couldn't shake the feeling that this was merely the beginning of a much larger conflict. The Vorax had challenged a human warship and suffered for their mistake, but pride and wounded ego often led to escalation rather than wisdom. "And Okafor," she added, "tell Command we're bringing home a souvenir. Let's get a tow line on that disabled vessel. Our engineers will want to study it thoroughly before its friends return." The first encounter was over, but the real battle was yet to come. The reckoning. 3 days had passed since the initial confrontation with the Vorax. The ISS Tempest and its sister ships had established a defensive perimeter around the outer reaches of the Ta-Ceti system, which housed humanity's newest colony world, Novaterra. The captured Vorax vessel had been towed to a research station in orbit around the system's gas giant, where engineers worked tirelessly to understand the alien technology. Captain Alina Reyes stood before the gathered officers in the Tempest's Strategic Command Center, her expression grave. "The intelligence we've gathered from the captured vessel confirms our worst suspicions," she began, gesturing to the holographic display showing the Vorax ship's navigational records. The 7th Expansion Fleet was merely a scouting force. Their primary armada is extensive, at least 30 capital ships, plus support vessels. Lieutenant Commander Wong leaned forward. "Can we expect reinforcements from Earth?" "Negative," Rice replied. "The nearest battle group is 3 weeks away at maximum FTL. We're on our own until then." The mood in the room darkened noticeably. "The good news," Rice continued, "is that we've learned a great deal about Vorax technology. Their ships rely on crystalline computing cores, organic synthetic hybrids that process information remarkably efficiently, but are vulnerable to certain frequencies of quantum disruption. So our disruptors will work on their entire fleet?" asked Captri hopefully. "Initially, yes," Rice nodded, "but they're adaptable. After analyzing the data from our previous encounter, the Vorax will likely modify their shields. We'll get 1 good strike, maybe 2, before they adapt." Science Officer Dr. Imani Chen, who had been studying the alien vessel's technology, spoke up. "There's something else, Captain. The Vorax utilize a form of hive mind during combat operations. Their ship's systems are neurally linked to enhance coordination. It's impressive, but it creates a potential vulnerability. A central point of failure," Rice concluded, eyes lighting up with understanding. "If we could isolate or disrupt the command ship, Exactly. All connected vessels would experience a temporary operational degradation while their individual systems compensate. Ray studied the tactical display, mind racing through possibilities. We need to exploit that weakness, but we'll only get one chance before they adapt. The briefing was interrupted by an urgent communication from the system's early warning beacons. "Captain," reported Communications Officer Okafor, "multiple Vorax signatures detected entering the system. Their numbers match our intelligence estimates. 32 capital ships, plus escort vessels." Reyes's expression hardened. It seems Commander Vexnar wasn't exaggerating about the Dominion's resources. Everyone to battle stations. Execute Defense Plan Omega. As the officers dispersed to their posts, Lieutenant Commander Wong lingered. "Defense Plan Omega, Captain." "Are you certain?" "Absolutely," Reyes confirmed. "It's time the Vorax learned exactly what they're dealing with." The massive Vorax fleet emerged from FTL in a dazzling display of precision, their ships arranging themselves into an attack formation that resembled a three-dimensional arrowhead. At its center was a vessel twice the size of any other, unmistakably the command ship. On its bridge stood Commander Vexnar, his crystalline cranial structures now adorned with additional segments, denoting his elevated status after reporting the discovery of the human threat. "Status of the human defenses," he demanded. His tactical officer responded promptly. 4 vessels detected, same as before. They appear to be holding position near the human colony world. Only 4 ships to defend against our armada. Vexnar's vertical pupils narrowed suspiciously. "After their previous deception, I find this difficult to believe. Conduct comprehensive scans of the entire system." Minutes passed as the Vorax sensors probed the depths of the Ta-CD system, searching for hidden human forces. "Commander," the tactical officer finally reported, "we detect unusual energy signatures throughout the system, particularly concentrated near the 5th and 7th planets. However, we cannot confirm additional vessels." Vexnar considered this information. The humans demonstrated phase-shifting technology before. They could be concealing their true numbers. "Our sensors have been recalibrated to detect the specific energy patterns associated with their previous deception," the officer assured him. "If they are employing the same technology, we would know." With a gesture, Vexnar opened a communication channel to the human fleet. "Captain Rice, this is Commander Vexnar of the Vorax Dominion. Your previous actions constituted an unforgivable offense against the Dominion. Surrender your vessels and colony immediately, or face annihilation." The response was immediate, Captain Rice's image appearing on the view screen. She looked remarkably calm for someone facing such overwhelming odds. "Commander Vexnar, I see you've brought friends. I assume this means diplomatic solutions are off the table. Your deception and aggression have foreclosed that possibility." Vexnar replied coldly. "You disabled one of our vessels and subjected it to intrusive examination. The Dominion does not forgive such transgressions." Reyes sighed. "I had hoped our initial demonstration would convince you to reconsider your expansionist policies. Since it didn't, perhaps this one will." Before Vexnar could respond, Reyes gave a signal to someone off-screen. Immediately, the strange energy readings that had been detected throughout the system intensified dramatically. "What is happening?" Vexnar demanded as his bridge officers rushed to interpret the sudden surge in energy. The answer came in a form none of them had anticipated. Throughout the system, what had appeared to be asteroids, small moons, and orbital debris suddenly transformed. Hundreds of objects revealed themselves to be disguised defense platforms, automated weapons systems that had been hidden in plain sight. "Impossible," breathed Vexnar's second-in-command. "Our surveys detected no artificial constructs. Biomimetic camouflage," explained Reyes from the still-open communication channel. "A little trick we developed after an unfortunate encounter with another expansionist empire. These defense platforms have been in place since we established the colony. They're designed to appear completely natural to all known forms of scanning technology." As she spoke, The platforms oriented themselves toward the Vorax fleet, weapons systems powering up in perfect synchronization. "You lured us into a trap," Vexnar realized, anger evident in his voice. "Not a trap," Rice corrected. "A defensive perimeter. One you've chosen to violate despite our warnings. I'll offer you one final opportunity to withdraw." Pride and rage warred within Vexnar. To retreat would mean disgrace, possibly execution upon his return to the Dominion. To press forward against this unexpected defense network was to risk his entire fleet. "The Vorax Dominion does not yield to inferior species," he finally declared. "All vessels, commence attack pattern dominance. Target their automated platforms first, then their ships." The Vorax fleet surged forward, their weapons streams of superheated plasma and graviton beams, lashing out at the nearest defense platforms. Several platforms were destroyed immediately, unable to withstand the concentrated firepower of multiple Vorax capital ships. But for each platform destroyed, dozens more responded, unleashing a devastating barrage of quantum disruptors, gravimetric torpedoes, and energetic plasma weapons of their own. The space between the opposing forces became a chaotic maelstrom of destructive energy. On the Tempest Bridge, Captain Rice watched the initial exchange with measured concern. "The platforms are taking heavy losses," reported Lieutenant Commander Catry. "Approximately 22% destroyed already." "They're performing as expected," Rice responded. "Their purpose is to thin the Vorax numbers and gather combat data. Prepare the Spear of Neptune for deployment." Catry nodded grimly, entering a series of commands into his console. Deep within the Tempest, a special weapons bay opened, revealing a sleek missile unlike any conventional armament. Meanwhile, the Vorax fleet continued its advance, pushing through the defensive screen of platforms despite mounting losses. 3 of their smaller vessels had already been disabled, and a 4th was venting atmosphere from multiple hull breaches. "They're adapting to our quantum disruptors," observed Dr. Chen, monitoring the battle from her science station. "Effectiveness has dropped by 35% in the last 3 minutes." "As expected," Rice acknowledged. "Fortunately, we don't need to rely on the same trick twice." She turned to her communications officer. "Signal the Horizon, Defiant, and Peregrine. Execute Maneuver Chimera." The 4 human warships, which had been holding position near Nova Terra, suddenly accelerated to attack velocity. Rather than engaging the Vorax fleet directly, however, they performed a series of complex evasive patterns, drawing fire while never presenting themselves as stationary targets. "What are they doing?" demanded Vexnar, watching the erratic movements of the human vessels. "Their maneuvers make no tactical sense." His tactical officer struggled to track the human ships as they weaved through the battle space with impossible agility. "They appear to be attempting to draw our fire away from their defense platforms, Commander." "Focus on the platforms as ordered," Vexnar insisted. "Once their automated defenses are neutralized, we can deal with their ships at leisure." What the Vorax commander failed to realize was that the human vessels' seemingly random maneuvers were anything but. They were systematically mapping the Vorax fleet's response patterns, testing reaction times, and identifying which ships coordinated most closely with the command vessel. "Neural link analysis complete," announced Dr. Chen aboard the Tempest. "The command ship is definitely the nexus of their battle network. 12 of their capital ships are primary nodes, handling sub-network coordination." Captain Rice nodded. "Perfect, Catry. Is the spear ready?" "Armed and locked, Captain. Awaiting your command." Rice took a deep breath. "Target the command ship and fire." From the Tempest's special weapons bay, the Spear of Neptune launched, a missile that appeared unremarkable except for the faint blue glow emanating from its propulsion system. It accelerated rapidly, following an irregular trajectory that made it difficult to track. Several Vorax vessels attempted to intercept it, but the missile's path seemed to anticipate their actions, adjusting in real time to avoid defensive fire. When one Vorax ship managed to lock onto it with a tractor beam, The missile simply phased out of normal space momentarily, continuing its journey unimpeded. "What manner of weapon is this?" Vexnar demanded as the missile approached his command ship, effortlessly evading every countermeasure. He never received an answer. The spear of Neptune detonated not against the command ship's hull, but approximately 1 kilometer away. Rather than an explosion, it released a pulse of energy that was invisible to normal perception. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, chaos erupted across the Vorax fleet. Ship after ship reported system failures, neural link disruptions, and command structure breakdowns. The perfectly coordinated armada devolved into individual vessels struggling to maintain basic functions. "Cybernetic virus," explained Rice to her crew. Dr. Chen's team developed it specifically to target their crystalline computing cores. It won't permanently damage their systems, but it will keep them disorganized for approximately 12 minutes. "More than enough time," Lieutenant Commander Wong commented with grim satisfaction. "All ships, all platforms, commence coordinated attack," ordered Rice. "Focus fire on their disabled vessels first." What followed wasn't merely a battle. It was a systematic dismantling of the Vorax fleet. The human vessels and defense platforms operated with perfect coordination, methodically targeting and neutralizing one Vorax ship after another. Some were disabled with quantum disruptors, others had their propulsion systems destroyed, leaving them adrift and helpless. Aboard the command ship, Vexnar watched in horror as his mighty armada was reduced to a scattered collection of damaged vessels. "How is this possible?" he demanded of no one in particular. "There are only 4 ships. 4 ships with an unprecedented defense network and technology we barely understand," his second-in-command replied grimly. "Commander, we must retreat. We've lost 40% of our combat capability already." Pride warred with survival instinct, but even Vexnar could not deny the evidence before him. "Prepare for emergency FTL. All vessels capable of independent navigation, retreat to Rally Point Sigma." As the remaining functional Vorax ships began to disengage, Captain Rice contacted the command vessel once more. "Commander Vexnar, before you leave, I want to ensure there's no misunderstanding. The Sol System Alliance has no interest in conquest or expansion into Vorax territory. This defensive action was necessitated by your aggression, not by any human ambition." Vexnar's crystalline structures had darkened to a deep indigo, a sign of profound distress among his species. "Your words ring hollow, Captain, when accompanied by such devastating capability. No race develops such weapons without intent to use them." "On the contrary," Rice countered, "humanity developed these capabilities precisely because we encountered species like yours, those who mistake restraint for weakness and peaceful overtures for submission. We've learned that the only way to ensure lasting peace is to demonstrate that war is unwinnable." She paused, allowing her words to sink in. "When you return to your leaders, tell them this: Earth desires diplomatic relations, not conquest. We will defend what is ours with absolute resolve, but we will never strike first. The choice between peaceful coexistence or mutual destruction rests with the Dominion." Without responding, Vexnar terminated the communication. His command ship, along with the 17 vessels still capable of FTL travel, disappeared into hyperspace, leaving behind their disabled companions. On the Tempest's bridge, a cheer erupted as the last Vorax ship departed. Captain Rice allowed herself a small smile before raising her hand for silence. "Well done, everyone. But our work isn't finished. Coordinate with the defense platforms to secure the disabled Vorax vessels. I want engineering teams ready to board and assist their crews with life support restoration if necessary." Lieutenant Commander Wong looked surprised. "We're helping them, Captain, after they tried to annihilate us." Rice nodded firmly. "That's exactly why we're helping them. The Vorax need to understand that humanity is different from other species they've encountered. We fight when necessary, but we don't abandon the defenseless, even former enemies." As the human vessels moved to secure the battlefield, Captain Reyes gazed out at the stars beyond the TAS CD system. She had no illusions that this would be the end of humanity's interaction with the Vorax Dominion. Whether the next chapter would be written in diplomacy or further conflict remained to be seen. But one thing was certain: the Vorax had challenged a human warship, and in doing so, they had learned a lesson that countless others before them had discovered too late. Humanity's greatest strength wasn't its advanced technology or innovative tactics, though those were formidable enough. It was the fundamental understanding that true power lay not in domination, but in the wisdom to know when to fight, when to show mercy, and when to extend a hand even to those who had once raised arms against you. It was a lesson the Vorax, and any who might follow their path, would not soon forget.